So, in this episode, what I'm going to do, I'll briefly touch upon some of the core concept, like for instance, custom objects. Why do you need a custom object? And a master detail relationship, lookup relationship. I do understand that this is an architecture certification, this data architect certification. But that being said, it's very important you guys understand what it means by a custom object because if you are from a Salesforce background, obviously you will know. But what happens at times, right? You might be dealing with an enterprise architect who's new to Salesforce. So it's very important for you as a data architect to make them understand the role of custom objects in Salesforce, right? So, like if you work with, say, SQL Server or Oracle, you might have heard the term table, right? Table is a place where you can store your data, for instance, your employee information or your payroll information, right? Similar to that, we have something called custom object. Custom object are those objects which you will create as per your business requirement. These are not out of box objects shipped by Salesforce, like Salesforce has standard objects. Standard objects like uh, which by default you will get as a part of the Salesforce registration process. Or, in other words, when you sign up to an org, right, you will get certain objects free based on, not object free in the sense, you will get out of box standard object as part of your license, right? For instance, if you are registered for a Sales Cloud license, obviously you will get lead, opportunity, accounts, contacts. These are the standard Salesforce objects. Or in other words, you can also say a standard Salesforce tables. Now, uh, as if you worked with SQL Server again, I'm going to repeat the same thing. You might have seen the tables, and tables contains fields, right, or columns, and each column will have their own name. The similar to that concept, we have something called fields, standard fields, custom fields, right? I'll show you in a second how it looks like, but let me finish a bit of a theory part so that it becomes very clear for you. So we got a standard field. Those fields are out of box fields. And then we got the custom fields, which you will be creating as part of your business requirement, right? So once you log into the Salesforce, this is how it looks like. Obviously, I expect you to know how the Salesforce looks like because this is a data architect certification course, and I do have some expectation from you. You at least know how to work with Salesforce, some hands-on with ER model, and you should have some understanding with the database aspect, right? It doesn't matter from which technology. You could be an expert on SQL Server, that's good enough, or you could be someone who's coming from, say, Oracle background, that's fine as well. So it will make your life much easier. But that being said, I do expect you to have at least some understanding of Salesforce platform, right? So this is Object Manager. So as you can see, you got an account here. So like I said, account are the standard objects which comes out of box as part of your once you register for an org. And in this case, I'm using a developer org, which is a free org. So if I go into this account now, you can see something like that, where you can see field and relationship, page layout. The layout is where you can see all the fields structure. So if you go to fields and relationship, right, this is where the name of the field comes in the picture. Like I said, you can have a standard fields or you can have a custom field, right? So custom fields are something which you create, like you go to here, right? And you can also look for the field dependency. Now, similar to an account, right? You can also create a custom object, so which is pretty straightforward to do so. So if you go back to Object Manager, you can do create and you do custom object, or you can also load your objects from a spreadsheet, which will get created behind the scene. So this is important for you to know from an architect perspective. And now the reason why I'm saying that, you need to factor, you know, how many custom objects you need to create in an org, and because it might impact the license what you have. So you need to factor those things into consideration. Yeah. So don't get crazy on creating custom object, custom object, custom object. That's not really a great solution. If you have an out of box standard object which you can leverage, you should be using that. And it's about, you see, the data architect course, right? It revolves more around working with data, how you create a optimal data model. Creating a data model is very important. So that's why this certification is one of my favorite certifications in the world, I would say, because it gives you an opportunity to build a data model, secure data model, and which forms the foundation of a Salesforce solutions you'll be building. Okay, so now if you this all looks great, right? I mean, you have account, you have other object called contact, but if I wanted to see in a form of relationship diagram, like you say ER diagram, right? Entity relationship diagram, how do you see that? Do you have to go to a separate software to do that? You can pretty much do that in Lucidchart if you want, or you can also do that in Visio. But that being said, there's an out-of-box functionality which you can leverage. That is called the schema builder. So you using which you can see how the relationship between the two objects ties together. Yeah. So it's pretty easy to go to schema builder. You have the button here. Once you click here, it will take you to something like that. Now here, what I'm trying to do, I'm trying to showcase you guys the relationship between an account and the contact. You see that we have an account field in the contact, so it's like one to many, and you have a self relationship, contact getting linked to contact, one to so you see this one, so one to many. So this is how you can uh, represent an object, and you can view that object using a schema builder, which is a very powerful tool. Because if you wanted to explain this, let's say to a database architect, you can do that. You can use this um, option to demonstrate that. You can showcase visually using this. You can also take a screenshot if you like to put that in your Confluent page. That also works. So usually this is my go-to tool if I wanted to, look at the object relationship between the two objects. Now, when it comes to relationship, right, the two main relationship you should uh, consider. One is the master detail relationship, and another one is a lookup. And though there are roll-up summaries and other stuff as well. So for now, I'll just focus on two. And the master detail relationship is like you have an object which acts like a master, and then you have a child which get assigned to it, right? For instance, parent-child, right? If there's no parent, the child wouldn't exist as well, right? So similar concept, right? The child wouldn't have born without parent. So if I use that analogy, you have an account object, right? And you have the custom object, let's say account log, right? Now you can make it as a master detail relationship. Now, when you do that, you so when a specific account get deleted, that objects the child object associated with get deleted as well. Whereas in terms of a lookup relationship, what happens is that it's not necessary that you need to define your parent in lookup relationship. So let me show you a very simple example, right? So I'll do that in a second, right now. So let's create a custom object called account log, right? And I'll say account log and account log. I'll just put it as, oh yeah, label doesn't matter for now. So I'll tick all of this, right? Allow search and kind of stuff. So this is also an exercise to show you how you can create a custom object. So what I'm trying to do, I'm creating a custom object. I'm gonna save it. Now, so I have, okay, so what I'll do, I'll pick up a color, okay, now, and I will say next. Yep, and I will say next, and I will say save. Yeah, it's pretty cool, right? Now, what I'll do, I'll go to field and relationship, right? I wanted to have a master detail relationship with an account. So I go new, and you have an option. Either you can do lookup, or you can also do external lookup, which we don't want to talk about at this stage. What I want to do, I want to do master details, right? Okay, now which object you want to? I can say account, and I will say next. And I will say account. It's always good to have description, help text, right? So what I'll do next, and I'll do next, I'll do next, right? And I'll do save. Okay, now what I'll do, I'll go to account, and okay, it's a sales console, so I don't want the sales console here. So I'll do a regular sales. I don't really like working with a console. I understand that if you're working on a in the Service Cloud, it makes sense, but I honestly don't like. But okay, so we got this something called Dave as a. I got a dummy account, right? Just say Dave. What I'll do, I'll go to the new object what I've created, account logs, and I'll create a dummy entry. Just a test. This is just a custom object. I know this sounds like a very silly example, but I just want to demonstrate what it means to create a custom field in terms of a lookup or a master detail. Right now, I'll say account. As you can see, that account is mandatory. Remember this: account is mandatory here because account is a parent, so it is mandatory. You cannot save without selecting account. Right. So I'll do account. I'll do Dave. I'll do save. Right now, let's say what happens if I go to say accounts and I go to Dave, and if you go to this related list, you can see the account log. There's one entry associated with this account. Now, for some reason, let's say I don't want this Dave guy, and I will say delete. Now, all right, so there's an active order. My apologies. What I'll do, let me create a new one, right? Test 1, 2, 3. I'll do save. So I'll do account log. I'll go to this guy again, and what I'll do, I will go to details. Right. And I'll go to this one, and I change it to from. I will edit it. That's fine. Let's say I create a new one, right? That's the best way I can do that. I can do test, and I will say test, right? Now I will go to accounts, and I will delete test. Hopefully I can delete now. Test gone. Now let's see what happens. As you can see, we have deleted this specific entry because that's how the master detail relationship works. Now, in terms of lookup, what normally happens, let's say I go to the account log and I will add a lookup field to contact. Yeah. And contact. And what I'll do, you can do if you wanted to make it required, it's your choice. Or if you don't want, that's up to you, right? So there's a choice there. So I will say next. and I'll say next. I'll say next. So save. Yeah. So now let's create an entry again. Yeah. So if I say new, oh no, not this one. I maybe this guy didn't get added. Okay, that's fine. Let's look at the page layout. What happened there? Um, maybe I didn't add it. Maybe I didn't. Mm, contact, edit, right? Save. I want to say the contact. Um, field level security. I'll just make it yes, save. For now. For now. Now, security is very important when it comes to the Salesforce. I've done a course on the sharing and visibility architect. So if you wanted to buy that course, you can always go to my Inspirate the Solution website and you can buy the course. So you go to new. Interesting. That means, okay, so what I'll do, I'll go here. Not a problem. Absolutely not a problem here. So I'll go here and I'll go to edit page. This is just for troubleshooting. I like troubleshooting, right? One of the thing being an architect is that you don't really get to do much hands-on, which is fine. I mean, but whenever I get an opportunity, I always try to jump on to do the hands-on. Okay. So this one here, account log and I pay. Oh crap! No, sorry, that's not. That's right. Um, so this boy is here. Now what I'll do, I'll just log out and log back in. How cool is that, right? So you can see that I don't need to add a contact mandatory, right? Though I could make it required, but I don't need to. So but whereas in terms of account, I need to. So that's a tiny difference, right? So you might come across these kind of scenarios when you're building your data model, whether you really need to be using lookup or master detail. So that's something you need to consider as per your business requirement. So that being said, that's all I wanted to cover in this episode. Thank you.